Good afternoon and welcome to the latest PMO Academy webinar from Wellingtone. And today we're going to be talking about giving your technology a little bit of an MOT. I'm going to start off with introductions just in case you haven't heard of us yet. My name is Emma-Ruth Arnaz-Pemberton and I'm the Director of Consulting Services at Wellingtone. I'm involved with lots of different associations for project management around the world. Notably, I'm a fellow of the Association for Project Management, which is the chartered body for our profession here in the UK. I'm also in charge of sustainability and corporate social responsibility for Wellingtone, and we do lots of work within our industry to support others with help when they need it. So we run a couple of events in this space, the first and most notable one being our annual Project Management Day of Service, which is in conjunction with Project Management for Change. And what we do is we invite charities to come along and get some pro bono support and help with their project management problems, strategies, communications, and all sorts of different things from people just like you, so anybody can get involved. I also am the organizer of our flagship conference, Future PMO, which happens on a yearly basis, which is really dedicated to those PMO people who want to get together with their peers, share ideas, and learn together. You can follow me on social media. You can just search for PMO Ninjas, or you can scan the QR code that you can see right here. I'm going to next tell you a little bit about Wellingtone. We're a project portfolio and project management consulting and training company. We have offices, our head office is in Windsor in the UK. We also have offices in Dublin and in Madrid. And we have some partners in Costa Rica who are helping us to spread the good PMO word over in that region as well. Our mission is to enable our clients to make a step change in their project management maturity. And we do that through a number of different streams of work, if you like. So we work with technology, also pure consultancy. We are very passionate about training and our conferences. And we even do annual research called the State of Project Management, which is coming out next week, in fact. We are very proud to have a number of accreditations and partnerships that we maintain here at Wellingtone, and probably the one that makes us the most unique is that we're a Microsoft Gold partner who is also accredited by the Association for Project Management here in the UK. We're the only company that has those two accreditations in the whole world, so it really gives us a great way to be able to scope out work and help our clients to really achieve that step change in maturity. We're super passionate about PMO, so we are the UK partners for the PMO Global Alliance, and we actually host their awards at our conference, Future PMO. And we have recently been accredited as one of the leaders in the industry for PMO training by Course Conductor. So that's enough about us. Today we're going to be really looking at how people are applying Microsoft technology for PMOs, what's coming in the future, but also, and really important in the times of today when our whole world has changed, we're all at home, or most of us are at home, it's a really good time to take a step back and really think about what's going to be important for our organizations. So we've developed a PMO MOT for your technology. So really today we're going to be exploring what that means. So we're going to be talking a little bit about working virtually and some of the stats that are coming out from this brand new experience that a lot of us are having. We're going to also talk about Microsoft solutions, and we're going to introduce you to our technology MOT quiz, which you can do as soon as you finish this webinar. So let's have a look at some stats. So really interesting stats are coming out from all over the world at the moment. We can see that 85% of 15,000 global businesses confirmed that having more location flexibility has actually led to an increase in productivity. And it's really interesting when we look at the stats where when we were all in our offices, we used to spend about an hour a day talking about non-work related matters. Now that number is down to like 9 minutes. So we are actually being more productive, although sometimes it might not feel like it. Also, when asked about their almost job satisfaction, 76% of people said that they would be more loyal to their employees if they had better flexible work options. And we're really seeing that flexible working is a choice that people are making for themselves and their families. In terms of working remotely, we can see that 61% of organizations globally are now offering more flexible working solutions for their staff. And here in the UK, we're sitting at currently just a bit above that. So we're a little bit above the average at 68%. So remote working is not coming, it's here. The future is now from that perspective, thanks to the pandemic. And what we thought would be a good thing to do is to now really hone in on your technology. We've spent a little bit of time during these webinars looking at the overall health of your PMO, but now we really wanted to get you to start thinking about technology that you have now and the technology that you might need in the future. So we're going to do a little bit of an MOT, and we're going to test a number of different areas. So you can see here, we're testing things like post-project benefits, post-project and benefits realization, so the practices that you have in place and how your technology enables that. Financial control capability, so how do we make sure that people have the right skills? Planning, so how does our technology support our planning and stage gates, our reporting needs as well? That's really important nowadays for visibility. Senior people, one of the key pieces of research that I found through Gartner showed that we've gone from asking for monthly reports to asking for almost weekly reports when we're thinking about senior people, because people want more visibility. Also, how your technology supports your resource management processes and the life cycle overall, and your governance that you have in place. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill down into each of these areas so that when you're considering new technology or upgrading or refining the technology that you have, some of the things that you might want to consider, and when it goes wrong, what can actually happen within your PMO. We're going to start off with one of the really important pieces for me is about capability. So understanding the way that we run projects goes much deeper than a pretty process or a Visio. We all love a Visio. We work in PMO. I know I can spend hours making sure that my lines don't cross. But we really need to think about the human element. And if you follow me on social media, you'll see that my very common hashtag is human first. We're human first, PMO second. So we really need to think about the people who are delivering that change. Are we using professional or what we call accidental project managers, which tend to be SMEs who are, you're free, you know about this topic, go and run this activity. And we don't necessarily give them enough attention or training, and we just assume that project management is something that anybody can do. So what can happen when we're looking at our technology? Within PMO, we generally are quite tech savvy. We're generally quite well versed in project management, program management, etc. But if we don't pay this capability piece enough attention and look at that balance of, are we using professional project managers? Are we using more accidental project managers? We really run the risk of developing a solution that's too mature, and in some cases not mature enough for our PMO customers. And when we talk about customers, we talk about the customers of the PMO. You're a service provider, just like any other department. So your customers are your project managers, your sponsors, your stakeholders, and anybody that maybe interacts with you. So when one of the first things when developing a solution, it's very easy to get wrapped up in it does everything. And most of the solutions out there will offer everything. It's about finding out where do you need to be right now, given the level of maturity that you have in your organization. Next, we're going to look at planning. So actually finding consistency in planning is what should be one of your key drivers for choosing any technology. So really starting to think about what level of planning takes place now. What's the reality? Do people use actual project plans? Are they using pieces of paper? Are they using other technology? Do we baseline our plans? It's good best practice to baseline once we know we've got that first cut of what the plan's going to look like. Are we mature enough to be doing that at the moment, or are we not there yet? Also, what level of granularity? I know when I've worked with some clients and they start showing me plans, we've got some that are 3 lines long and some that are 3,000 lines long. Neither of those is necessarily the right answer. So we need to understand what level are people planning down to, and what would we want them to plan down to if we were to get some technology that was going to drive that consistency. Also, your planning standards. So different people plan in different ways because our brains work differently. So in order to get that consistency, we need to give people some guidance. So whether it's the 770 rule of, if it's less than 7 hours, just give them a day. If it's an activity that's going to take less time, assume that they've got other work to do and give them a day. If it's likely to take more than 70 hours, then let's break it down into some more manageable chunks for people so that they can really digest what it is that they need to do. And developing those standards will start to really give us that perspective on how good does this tool need to be in terms of granularity and type of planning that we do. If we don't pick the right solution, then what we will find is that our planning will remain inconsistent, and that has a knock-on effect onto the reality of the data that we can collect. If we're comparing apples and apples, or even apples and oranges sometimes helps, but if we're trying to compare apples and trees, that's not a good situation to be in, and we're not going to be able to really get that hierarchy perspective of where our projects and programs are at. Next, we're going to think about our stage gates. So stage gates is, again, common best practice that we tend to see in lots of more traditional kind of waterfall organizations, where it allows the project team to take a step back and make sure that everything's okay before moving on to the next bit. If you think about the principles of Prince2, you know, one of the key principles is that we go back to justify the business case at every stage. So we need to make sure that, like has happened in the last few months, the world hasn't fundamentally changed and that this is still the right thing to do. So one of the key questions that we ask people is, how are you using your gates at the moment? Do you have them? Are they a full stop, so we don't move forward until we've gone through that gate? Or is the gate always open for people to walk through whenever they want to? We also need to think about, are we mature enough to deal with hard stage gates where we actually stop a project until we've gone through that process? At Wellingtone, we always talk about keeping things simple. And when we're developing different systems, we actually sometimes don't put stage gates as mandatory to start with. We put them in because it's the right thing to do and it gets people thinking that way. But actually, it's more important to get people to think in a project management way. So we might not make stage gates mandatory for 6 months. And it's about getting to the nuance of what's going to be important in the future of your organization. If we don't have this kind of approach when we're looking at our solution design, it is likely that you will need more development in the future. It might be that you buy something that's very, very simple, and when in a year's time, when we say, actually, now's the time, we're mature enough, everybody gets project management, they get why we need to do stage gates, you'll either need to redevelop or maybe even buy something else. So it's really important that when you're selecting a tool, that you do it with the future in mind. We don't build something for now, we build it to be able to support you for the future. Next, we're moving on to reporting needs. Like I said, we are seeing in lots of organizations that senior teams have gone from asking for data and information on a monthly basis to more of a weekly or even daily basis in some extreme cases. So one of the key elements of your solution is going to be around reporting and what your leadership needs to see in order for them to be able to do their job. And their job being, they want to be able to make informed decisions for the future of the organization. So, for example, post-pandemic, people and organizations will have to make decisions on maybe some of the projects that we're running. So being able to look at the current needs and what's coming, what were we expecting, what does the new world look like, and turn that into actionable intelligence is one of the key things that when you choose and select a tool, that you don't end up doing this manually. That's the last thing that a tool should make you do, is to extract it, manipulate it in Excel, and then turn it into a PowerPoint deck. It's absolutely one of the key things we want to get rid of when we're looking at redesigning our technology. And to do that, you have to ask your customer. You have to ask your senior team, your project managers, what data would help you? What information do you need to see? There isn't any point you deciding for them what they want to see. Your perspective will be very different to theirs because you have a different set of drivers. You have different problems that you're dealing with every day. So if you don't do that, then your value, the perception of your value will diminish over time because you're just pushing out reports that nobody uses. And I'm sure in PMO, lots of us have been in that situation before today. Next, we're going to talk about resource management. It's one of the dark arts of project management. Key thing that we always get asked for is, I want to maintain a resource profile. I want to know where my people are, what they're doing. and I want to be able to manage that on a day-to-day basis, knowing that things change. So again, it's always the as is. We have to have a starting position. How do we do resource management now? Is it done because we know our mates who work in the other department and we can tap them on the shoulder and get what we need? Or is it a very structured organisation and we've got to go through 5 or 6 or 7 different approval processes to get people into our projects? So understanding where are we today and where do we want to go in terms of resource management. Most of our clients, they want a fairly simple way of seeing a balance of their resources in terms of people and money and technology and everything else that is classed as a resource. So they want to be able to see the bigger picture, but they also want to be able to have a play with, well, what if I hire 3 more people? Where would we put them? What if we move the starting of this particular activity out 6 months? What happens if we stop things? We need to get that clear view. Detailing the needs for resource management up front is really important. So no matter what you pick, it's really important that resource management is something that's tackled early on. And it might be that there are some compromises to be made in terms of the starting position. It might be that the technology offers you a different way of doing things, but it's one of the key things that we always know we have to really put some focus into, because it's important for everybody. We know it's a dark art. We know very few organizations do this well. So it's something that a solution will be able to help you if you design it in the right way for you. Next, we have our processes. So lots of organizations have very detailed processes. Some have much higher level. Again, all of that is linked to maturity of the PMO. So your systems that you select need to be able to reflect those processes and also support and even facilitate in some cases. So taking the time upfront to understand and develop those processes for the system is going to hopefully form a really important aspect of your decision. So at Wellingtone, we put a lot of emphasis on ways of working and change and adoption as well. We do that as part of all of our requirements. So we don't just kind of look at what the system can do and what you're asking us on face value. We might also spend some time to understand your processes that you have today and what your vision for them is for the future, so that we can make sure that we're not trying to retrofit our processes into a system, square peg round hole, or when trying to change the way our organization works to fit with a system that we can't mess around with. So doing that analysis and design up front is going to give you that visibility of what's happening in the delivery space that will reflect your reality, and also the language that your organization uses, the nuances of your organization. So we talk about project management, PPM DNA. If you look around wherever you are right now, all of us humans are 99% alike. That 1% makes a massive difference. And that goes for every organization. Every organization has its own DNA. But we need to build systems that support that DNA, not the other way around. Next, we talk about lifecycle governance. So we know that governance principles are usually set out for organizations. That's the way that they select and approve and manage change initiatives. So making sure that your system supports those governance needs is going to, again, be a large part of your decision-making process. Why? Because again, just like reporting, we don't want to build a system that then you've got to extract everything to go and get lots and lots of different approvals. You've got to get actual ink on paper and print everything out and do everything really, really manually. So making sure that you understand the governance that you have. Do you have simple approval where actually if it's less than this much, it goes to this person. If it's more than that much, it goes to this other person. At the moment, do you have really complex but manual approval and governance and boards? So, we pull the information together, then we create a different agenda, then we send that through, then somebody sits and takes minutes, and it's complex because there's lots of people involved, but very, very manual. And also think about your approval thresholds. Again, are they very complicated or are they quite simple? I know I have one client whose governance processes change for every single project. So it's really hard to wrap your head around the fact that when a project begins, the gates that it goes through and the people that need to approve those gates might completely change from every other project that we've ever done. So understanding those nuances, that DNA, is going to make it much easier to choose the right solution and how you develop that solution. And without that, then again, you're going to have to develop something later on, because nobody wants to spend the time and invest money, time and effort into developing a new system, rolling it out, doing the training, making sure everybody's comfortable with it, only then to have to extract a load of information and do a lot of stuff manually. It's not a great user experience, because your users will be, well, what was the point of that if I've still got to do 30% of it outside? Next, we're going to talk about visibility and confidentiality. So we know that not all organizations are open books. Some, depending on the nature of what they do, require a degree of confidentiality just because of the nature of what they do as a business. So whether or not the concept of portfolio and program management is understood is a key driver for openness. We tend to find that organizations who are not very mature in portfolio and program management don't tend to have the need for confidentiality as much as those that are doing full-on program management and full-on portfolio management. It does tend to show up, the confidentiality trick, when we've got lots of different areas working across a portfolio and we need to be able to stop people seeing certain things. In every organization, there will always be something that's confidential. But as a general rule, you need to consider how important this is. Sometimes it's really good to let everybody see everything, but at the same time, from a project manager's perspective or a team member's perspective, is that going to create a lot of noise in the system for me, where I'm going to have to trawl through lots of stuff that I'm not that bothered about? I don't care that. It's nice for me to know, but on a day-to-day basis, I don't need to know about it. Or is it easier to, get rid of the visibility of stuff that doesn't impact me, but have a really, really good communications process in place so that everybody can at least get that bigger picture? So understanding the importance of visibility and confidentiality, what your needs are, is again going to make a big difference to the solution that you end up with. And also you need to think about the longer term. Is this likely to be is your business growing? Are you acquiring businesses at the moment? Is that going to mean potentially in the future that we need some more confidentiality and to be able to restrict visibility across those new businesses? Next, we've got post-project and benefits. So again, another one of the dark arts of project management. We know this is tough for most organizations to do really, really effectively, but it's becoming more and more evident that it's important. Why? Because all organizations are under pressure right now. So we need to know that if we spend £1 or $1 or €1, that we're going to get something back for that. So really making sure that we're spending the time to understand what happened versus what were we planning, and also longer term, what benefits did we get from that? Not necessarily money to the bottom line. Sometimes it is about making our people or our customers happy, and that's okay. So we need to make sure that although we have return on investment in most organizations as a metric on a scorecard, that we look at that wider piece. And the system that you have should support benefits realization and post-project work. So whether it's follow-on actions that we have to assign to certain people, or if it's we need to do the knowledge management piece around what did we learn. We're really, really good at logging lessons learned in project management, but we're not great at actually learning from them. It's very much a tick in the box exercise for lots of organizations. So making sure that we ask that question, how does this system support post-project and benefits realization when the project team have moved on to new shiny things and we're left with a bunch of activities that somebody needs to pick up? We're all really busy, so we need to get some structure around that. The last section that our little MOT tests for is financial control. So what do you need? So this follows on really nicely from benefits realization, is very much around that project accounting. Lots of organizations that I work with say, oh, it's not the project manager's role to do project accounting. From my perspective, that is a fundamental piece that every project manager should at least have an eye on. They might not be running the financial systems and dealing with the purchase orders, but they should know whether they're coming in within the budget they've been given. So although sometimes it is used outside of the project management systems, maybe we've got SAP or something else that's running in the background, we need to make sure that our systems, the solution that you pick for your PMO, has some basic functionality around tracking at maybe a higher level what we're actually spending versus how much money were we given in the first place. It might be that because we're using a different system, we're not going to try and make the project management solution a finance process system. It doesn't make sense. But what can be done these days is that we surface information from both systems through that reporting that we talked about earlier. So understanding the financial needs, and maybe we're not that mature, and actually just having a table that allows us to put in month on month what we spent is more than enough for now. But knowing that we're going to be able to keep track of spend, keep track of our projects and programs, we're going to be able to roll things up, is going to be really important. Even if it's not right now, because lots of organizations are kind of in somewhat chaotic environment. I think it will be in the future. So we need to get a grip with this financial control. So those are all the sections that we need to consider when we're selecting a solution. So what have we done for you? So we've basically created a little bit like our PMO MOT that we talked about last month. It's a quiz-based kind of MOT for your technology. So it's question and answer based analysis. You don't need to download anything. It will provide you access to further reading at the end. And caveat, we are a Microsoft Gold partner, so it is Microsoft technology focused. The fourth systems that we kind of are looking at for this is Microsoft Teams, which is a collaboration platform. It has Kanban style planner, video conferencing, chat facilities, document repositories, and things like that. Most of you, I would imagine, have been exposed to Microsoft Teams in the last few months, even if you weren't using it before. So that is a way of managing some of the simple projects and activities that we run within that Microsoft area without having to get into kind of the more formal project planning. So if you think about your smaller, structured business as usual kind of activities. Also, another technology that we've kind of looked at is To-Do, which is a task list, which is linked to your Outlook. So you've got start and end dates, you've got reminder functionality, you can assign tasks to other people. So again, if you're already really organized, this might be something from a project management perspective, this might be something that will help you get visibility. Then we have Project Online, which is very much tied together with Project Desktop, which again, most of you who have been in project management for a while will have been exposed to at some point, I'm sure. Project Online is customizable. It is license-based. It's a platform which is designed for PPM in its entirety. So fully customizable, and this is where I've been talking about really making sure that the system matches your reality in terms of your processes and ways of working. And the last technology that we've considered is something that you may not have heard of, which is Project for the Web. So it's kind of linked to Project Online. So if you imagine that MS Teams and Planner is for kind of day-to-day managing of tasks, Project Online is at the other end of the scale, and you can manage and facilitate all of your approval processes and resourcing and finance and everything through that. And Project for the Web kind of sits in the middle of that. So it's really based on a simple and user-friendly interface with Kanban style boards. It's really dynamic, it's all browser based, so you don't have to work on anything offline. And again, it's fully customizable to whatever you need your processes to be within the system. So we've kind of considered these 4 different technologies: Microsoft Teams, To-Do, Project Online, and Project for the Web as part of this quiz, which you'll be able to log in. So you will receive the link straight after this, so that you can actually log in and have a bit of a play with it. And it will ask you a lot of questions around all of the topics that we talked about today, and then it will recommend this might be something that will work for you. And then you can go and read some more about that particular solution. So next steps for you, we will send you an email with a link to the quiz. Recommend that you, if you can, complete it with your team if you have access to them. It's always interesting to get a different perspective. If you need to do it on your own, that's absolutely fine. You can have more than one go. We don't ask for your details for you to get your result or anything like that. But we always say to do this kind of work when we're redesigning any part of our PMO is to do it with our team where possible. Only for the brave, share your result, share it on social media as to what is it that might actually work for you, and also contact us for help with your PMO evolution. So we are here for those people who are doing our MOTs. If you contact us, share your result with us, and you want to have a chat, we do offer kind of 30 minutes free just to chat about your PMO, your reality, so that we can maybe help you to make a decision whether it's to create a brand new solution or to refine what you've got now and make it a little bit smarter. That's nearly it for me. If you want to stay in touch, like I say, you've got my direct email address, so you can just ask me questions if you want to, and you can search for me on social media through PMO Ninjas. Last but not least, I have mentioned it a couple of times, is our PMO MOT assessment. We developed this and we did a webinar on it last month, which you can go back and have a look at. This will also be a link in the email that you get. Again, completely free to download and use from wellingtone.co.uk or wellingtone.es for those of you that are Spanish speaking. And this is a PMO MOT that looks at all the different aspects of your PMO, but really important, it's customizable. So looking at different areas, but if you have a particular element of your DNA that you do that maybe isn't a typical PMO piece, you can actually add it. It's just an Excel, it has no code, and it will give you a nice visual like you see here so that you can pick it up and kind of pop it into a presentation and maybe use it as a case for change. Within that, there's also a video on how to use it as well. So there are, as you can imagine, a few different questions that you need to answer. So there are videos on the website too about how to use that. So hopefully with the two tools, we are going to come to you after the summer with a different one, which is all about MOTing your PPM skills from an individual's perspective. So have a play. We're here to help you MOT your PMO so that you can make it a lot stronger for the future. I hope you found this interesting. Do stay in contact with us, and we hope to see you soon.